Craig Stevens. He's from Silver Lake Township. Let's thank you. Have a nice warm thank you for Craig.
Evening, folks. How you doing? I don't have anything up on the screen because everything I have is in writing, and it would be considered a legal document in court. So if anybody's here that wants to question me, I'll be available afterwards, and I'll be happy to show you my documents if you show me yours. I'm a 6th generation landowner. What's that? Oh, sure. I'm a 6th generation landowner in Silver Lake Township, Pennsylvania. I didn't grow up there. I was born in California in 1960. I'm 52 years old. I've been coming to visit for my whole life to my ancestral home. My mom is from Owego, New York. I'm a 5th generation Oswegonian. So anybody here that thinks I should mind my own business and stay in Pennsylvania, I only live 8 miles below the New York state line anyway at my 6th generation home. But I can go up to Owego and we can talk about my 5th generation ancestry here. So I moved full-time in 2010. January of 2010, I moved full-time. And my father passed away. I inherited a portion of our family property from him. My brother and sister and I did. And I'm here to talk to the landowners. Okay, if you're here and you're pro drilling, I have no problem with you. If you're pro signing a lease, I have no problem with you. What you do with your own property and who you make deals with and contracts with is not my issue. Here, I'm here to tell you what happened to me. I'm not a left-wing activist. I'm a right-wing conservative from California. Get that one in your books and try to make sense of that. I was raised by a guy who was born in northeastern Pennsylvania, in California, and I'm living in California. I moved to Virginia for 4 years, also a big megalopolis, just like Southern California. And then I came to the only place on this planet I've ever been able to relax, which is Silver Lake Township, in the little house built by my great-great-grandfather 180 years ago this year. So, do I want anybody else tell me what I'm supposed to do with my property? No. But you know what I found out when I moved here? Once my dad died and we redid the deed with our names on it, I went down to check on everything, and I found a gas lease on my property. How'd that happen? I'm the owner. My dad never signed a lease. Well, 6 weeks after my dad passed away, who had never signed a lease, he lived there for 14 years with his mother, my grandmother. A Chesapeake landman went up and found her in the nursing home and signed her to a 10-year gas lease for $135.10 an acre. And at that time, that was a pretty good deal for a 95-year-old woman to get. I don't know about you, but any industry that has to hunt old women down in nursing homes to sign them up and get them on paper, I don't think I want to do business with them. And I'm telling you right now, you probably don't either. And I won't convince you tonight, but I will make myself available by email. The landowners that are totally pro this, I'm right there with you. So was I. I used to be drill baby drill, and now I'm drink baby drink, because I need something to drink in the future, and so do my kids. And they seem to be having a problem keeping our water clean in my area. And I'll prove that to you this evening also. If you're a landowner, I developed and will email you my 21 questions for landowners. How did I develop these? Well, I'm a businessman. I'm self-employed. I don't have a boss. I don't have to answer to anybody, luckily. Because if you have a boss around where I am, you shut up and you sit down. Because if you start pushing on something they don't like, you end up on the unemployment line too. And especially if you think you're a business owner around here and you're going to make some money, talk to the business owners down where we live. You know what? They're getting paid net 90 or 120, even if they're in the industry. The water haulers, the rock haulers, any kind of business besides cash and carry, like if you own a restaurant or a hotel. I talked to these guys and they said, we'd love to help you out, but if we cross these guys, they can me. They owe me $100 grand for the last 90 days, and they say, see it in court and try to get it. Oh, by the way, on the way out the door, don't forget, we're blackballing you in the industry. You won't work. I don't care if you see them putting live human babies down the drill shaft because they provide better viscosity than their normal stuff. They won't say anything because they don't want to lose their $30,000 or $40,000 a month of income as a business. That's called extortion, guys. That is ridiculous, but it's the only work available to these guys, and I feel sorry for them. But to overlook what's happening and to not blow the whistle because you want me to paycheck, that's a hard decision to make. I wouldn't want to be in that position. I'm not going to read all these because I'll send you a copy, but I'm going to read number 1. They are business partners with you, guys. They're signing an agreement with you. They're agreeing to what they can and can't do, what they do and do own, and what percentage of your minerals you're going to get paid on. The first question on this is the most telling. Where's the meter? How do I know how much money you owe me each month? Wake up, guys. There is not a meter that you can see as a person that has a gas lease with an exact number on it. I don't care how good of a deal you get. I had to fix mine. I did it. I took Chesapeake out without an attorney, and I beat them. They told me I wouldn't be able to do it. It took me 6 months. I know nothing. I have a high school diploma, 2 years of junior college, no college degree. I took on Chesapeake Energy by myself without an attorney, and they folded. And if you don't believe me, I have the documents right here to prove it. They said nothing to me. They signed my grandmother, and she was only the life tenant. She did not own the property. Not one bit, not one blade of grass did my grandmother own. She owned the right to live there for the balance of her life. They took that contract and they put it on my deed. Then they got my aunt and uncle, who owned a third each, my dad's brother and sister, and got them to sign not a contract, but a ratification of her contract. And guess what they did with my dad's third? They ignored us. They still can't prove to this day they ever sent any communication to 3 deeded landowners that we even existed. Oh, buddy, but they know I exist now. Because I don't put up with that. That is my property. This is America. This isn't communist Russia. You don't take my property and not recognize me as a landowner. And if you think they're going to do anything different up here, these guys only know one way, their way. They love you when you shake your head like this. They get worried when you go like this. Got a question? And buddy, when you go like this, they will run you over with a 40-ton mud truck right in the middle of the road in front of your house. Like my neighbor John Jones, sadly. I follow this, the Constitution. I got the Bible in here for anybody that thinks that might be an important document. And then I have the state Constitution of Pennsylvania. Those are my rule books. I don't care what their rule book is. It took me 5 minutes to go on the internet and find out that a life tenant can't sign a gas lease in the state of Pennsylvania. 5 minutes. All the lawyers I talked to said I'd spend $50,000 trying to fight them, and I'd lose anyway. I don't listen to the lawyers anymore, because they're all trying to make money too. My house sits 50 feet off of a state road, just like Vera said. Every 24 hours a day, 300 to 400 trucks that weigh 40 to 50 tons loaded run right across the front. That house was built in 1832, the basement. It burned down in 1905 and was rebuilt, so it's over 100 years old on the top. Every time a truck goes by, the whole place goes like this. It's pretty fun. I don't have to put a quarter in the bed, I get the vibration. There's the lease. Right on top is my document that shows that life tenants can't sign gas leases. But you know what, guys? This is America's fuel, right? Anybody in here that's pro-drilling? This is America's fuel. Then why did Chesapeake sign my grandmother in July of 2007? And in November of 2008, they sold 1/3 of all their interests in 32,000 leases in the Northeast to a company called Hydrostat Oil. Not from Norway. They are the country of Norway that owns that company. The country of Norway owns 1/3 of the mineral rights underneath my private property in Susquehanna County, Silver Lake Township, Pennsylvania. Yeah, America's fuel. Snap out of the coma, guys. This is not America's fuel. It's not staying here, and if you think it is, I'll challenge you. Whoever got some money and wants to put it down will have a gentleman's bet. Why is the Constitution pipeline they want to build, a 30-inch federal line starting near Brooklyn Township, Pennsylvania, going about 20 miles in Pennsylvania until it hits the New York border, going through 4 or 5 counties to Albany? Where's it going after that? Well, ask the guy building it. We did. Well, when it gets to there, it splits. One line goes to Long Island Harbor, and the other one goes where? Boston Harbor. Gee, why would you take anything to port cities? I wonder, guys. Why would you? Well, what's the price of natural gas right now? That's another question on my list. You know, nothing to worry about. Why are you guys going to take this out right now? If this was a gold mine, would you be taking it out when I'm getting paid on $200 an ounce? Or $2,000 an ounce? You're the landowner. You want them taking it out? You don't get a choice, guys. Once they poke a hole in the ground, they hold the lease. The first is a bonus payment. You learned from who that they were paying people a few bucks an acre up here first? That was 20 years ago, 10 years ago. They were throwing nickels around like manhole covers, my dad used to say. They were telling people, you know what? you don't need a sign. But if you don't, we're only offering this $50 an acre tonight. Tomorrow I'm out of here. And by the way, let me show you a pretty picture of how the drill bit goes down 10,000 feet, and it goes sideways 10,000, it goes underneath your house, and it takes the gas out whether you sign this or not. So if you sign, we're going to give you a check, and if you don't, we're not. You know how many tens of thousands of people got sold that bill of goods? These guys aren't landmen, they're used car salesmen in a different business. That's what they are. And if you don't believe me, wait till you get to experience one. And anybody out here in a landowners group, I applaud you for grouping together as a community to try to protect yourselves. Smart move. Well, let me ask you a question. Why do you need to do it? Maybe because you're dealing with people who sign old women in nursing homes, that's why. Maybe you deal with people who lie to people to get them to sign documents. Maybe you're dealing with people who to date have never admitted to contaminating any water supply in the United States or the world. That'd be amazing, because this is industrial activity, guys. Any industrial activity has a small percentage, if not a larger percentage, of damage that it does. But we can't admit to it, because if we do that, there's a problem. Hey, let me ask you something, guys. Why does this company need to go get a PR firm? You know what the PR firm they got did 60 years ago? They tried to convince all of us that cigarette smoking was not only not dangerous, it was really healthy for you. Just ask my mom, who smoked for 50 years and died horribly of cancer. You know, she used to stand over me. These are the good old bygone days. Smoking a cigarette, changing my diaper, when I'm deathly allergic to cigarette smoke. I almost didn't make it to 1.5 or 4 years old. They didn't hear my heartbeat. A doctor didn't hear my heartbeat until I was 4. You comprendo? And these same guys run ads on the TV, in the newspaper, in the magazines, tell my mom, it's cool, everybody does it, and it's good for you. Got it? Same guys, look it up yourself. 60 years of lying to the community, to the world about cigarette smoke, and now they're going to spend, what, another 50 or 60 lying to us about how safe this industry is? I'm getting tired of the lies. I don't mind the truth, that's fine, but the lies. Let me tell you, if you want to challenge me, I have a gas lease. Do any of you? If you do, I have one. Okay? With Chesapeake. I also have a half a mile of a 16-inch pipeline that my family agreed to allow them to put across. Because when I moved here, I wasn't against the industry. They had to prove themselves to me. Bad news for them. I own my own PR and marketing company. I would have been the best thing they could have come across. But guess what? They're idiots, because they pissed off somebody that was excited about them in the beginning, because I have land and would love to get paid. And through their own actions, I didn't have to hunt it down. It showed up right in my own community. They're putting the pipeline in. You know that creek that Vera told you about? That's in my backyard, across my property. They blew it out 8 times in a row over 2.5 months. Now, how do I know that? Well, every day my kids would, it's summertime, it was in July 29th, they'd throw breadcrumbs into the creek in the backyard and watch the fish attack like piranha. It was something fun. Hey, they're young, 7, 8 years old. So July 29th in the morning we did that, and they enjoyed it. There's the clear water with the fishies in it. We went to town, came back in the afternoon, I gave them the bread, they run out excitedly, they come back meeting me walking out there and go, what's wrong? Well, the creek's all full of mud, Daddy. Huh? So I went there, it looked like the Mississippi River. Crystal clear in the morning, Mississippi River of mud in the afternoon. Houston, I think we have a problem. I don't have to be a scientist to figure it out, guys. I don't have to battle Tony Graffi against Ingelder. This is Terry Ingelder. This is not a battle. So I walked down very nicely with my kids and asked the guys. Trucks were zooming around. They were sucking the mud up. They put sandbags in a 10-foot diameter around this hole that was gushing up mud. It was pretty exciting, except for that's my creek in my backyard. And I asked the guy, and he said, hey, we're really busy. We had a blowout here. I said, really? So I went and called DEP, our protection agency. You know, they call it the Department of Environmental Protection. You know what we call them affectionately? Don't expect protection. Because not only are they not protecting anybody, because I'll tell you what, I'll tell you a quick story in a minute about today, not last week, not last month. This isn't Dimmick 4 years ago, today. Got it? So I called DEP and I said they had a blowout, because that's what the guy called it that's working on it. And she said, Mr. Stevens, we don't call those blowouts. We call them inadvertent return to surface. I wasn't laughing then. And I said, really? Well, I'm about to go back down there and have an involuntary muscle reaction, and somebody's not going to be very happy about it. Get somebody down here and do it now. Then I kept calling them, Vera and I kept calling them. And they said, we already know about the blowout, but do you know about the one that just happened an hour ago? Not the one 3 days ago, or a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, or a month ago. Today's blowout. Because they started getting tired of us calling about it. That's your protection. If you think the DEC's got enough people to handle this, the DEP's got a lot more, and they can't even get on top of it. It is insane what's going on. Why don't I like these guys now? Why was I interested before and not? Here's why. I went to Demick because Demick is not too far away from me. And on September 11, 2008, and I have the pre-drill test results for a couple of people on there, so Cabot paid for it because the wells are within 1,000 feet of a private water well, which is automatically, the industry has to pay for it. Now it's $2,500. And Craig Softer's toilet water looked like that. Luckily it went brown, because some other people's don't discolor. And he was flush the toilet, kept going brown. So he called the DEP. And you know what Cabot Oil and Gas, it says they didn't do anything over there, did? They took a rollback truck, drove it over, put it in their front yard with a water buffalo in the back, and by the end of the evening they had attached a pipe to their house, and they had water provided by Cabot within 6 to 8 hours of calling them. Now that's a good neighbor. That sounds good, right? They're not admitting anything, but there's a problem, and these are local residents. And by the way, I'll have leases with Cabot. Okay, we'll come over and, we'll believe you for now, and we'll look into it. That changed pretty quickly. You know the saddest thing, though? Remember I talked about you guys grouping together, the landowners coalitions, because you're trying to protect each other? Well, let me tell you what happens when it goes bad. And when you raise your hand and say, Houston, we have a problem, guess what they do? They don't come and help you. They turn the entire community against you. It's really fun to watch. Can't wait for it to happen here. I hope it never does, but let me tell you. In Demick, that happened in September 11th of 08. It wasn't until about September of 2010 when the group Enough already was formed, and the entire community turned on the victims, what I call the victims. Because I don't know about you, but I'd have to get scientists to tell me, I don't want to drink their water. So why did Cabot pay for a year and a half or 2 years to deliver $1.5 million worth of water to these people? Forcing Cabot to get a contractor to do it? Somebody must have thought something was wrong. Why did Cabot put $4.1 million into a escrow account for these people? Including 19 people, not the 12 that you all hear about. You know the 7, I got them right here in the briefcase, all their names. I read them out when we went over there and tried to make sure people had water. Boy, they were embarrassed when I read that they got $350,000 from Cabot, when right before that they were speaking to their community and said there was nothing wrong with the water. Would you take $350,000 from anybody if they didn't do something? Or would you go, hey, I think my water was fine beforehand, and thanks for the money, but I don't really need it. You probably need it to pay these other people. You're really messed up, right? No, they all cashed a check. Those 7 people got $2 million from Cabot and put it in the bank. The 12 families that were holding out, sticking together as a real community, watching others back, they got about 2.1 total for 12 people. Got it? In an escrow account with their name on it. You know how long it took when my neighbor Shelley Depew's well had a well casing failure, which by the way she will never admit, even though we've given her the documents in person and put it on camera. By the way, she's speaking to elected officials and influencing their voting, which is illegal, so I have a little problem with that. But when we found out that on December 6th, the water went black all the way down 29, you were said to come and visit. Drive down 29, you go like this, you drop down in Franklin Forks, look on your left, right when you come down the hill into the Forks. There's an 1,100-gallon water buffalo attached to a house. Go another 3 houses down or 4 houses, there's an 1,100-gallon, there's an 1,100-gallon, there's a vent pipe on the restaurant. Called Heavenly Angels that serves food every day. So, they kept quiet for 3.5 months. That didn't work out too good for them. Because the families had methane in their water, very high. They had discoloration. They had what used to be clean water, clear, in a clear glass, beautiful water out of their well the day before. Now look like Perrier. Houston, we have a problem. I don't have to be a scientist. You know, Matt Manning, who's now a friend of mine, I didn't know him from Adam before Vera and I went down to say, hey, how's this keeping quiet working out for you? Not too good. We know now, Vera and I do think, if you're in the military, we go loud. That means we're not being quiet anymore. Lock and load and fire it up. Because everyone's going to hear us now and they're going to start running. We go loud. The reason is everybody so far that we've seen in the last 5 years has stayed quiet and trying to work out a deal with them. Because I don't want to upset anybody in my neighborhood because they might get mad at me and they might not speak to me in church. Right? Everyone that's done that has been run over because they love that part. Stay quiet. It's really good. Instead, we go loud. So we went loud. We had 5 cameras there, 5 camera crews at their home the next day. Still no responsibility. You know, when they signed the leases there, they were Alta. And then Alta sold to Williams. Alta averaged a few $100s an acre, I think $1,000 an acre when they signed up the landowners in our area. How much did Williams buy it for? $12,000 an acre. Then Williams decided this year, on January 1st, to become WPX. Do you notice something? Layer upon layer upon layer of LLCs. Why would anybody do that? Because when you sue one, they just close it and collapse it and go elsewhere. That's been known to be done in every industry, but this is what these guys do. It's pretty exciting to watch. So, let me tell you what happened to Matt and Tammy and our neighbors down there. That's 2.4 miles from my house. By the way, Shelley's accused well from Truthland is being investigated and has been for the last 60 months, potentially for having caused the damage. I'm not saying they did, I'm not saying they didn't, but if you call the DEP in Pennsylvania, they will say there is an active investigation, whether that was the well or the Hollenbeck well. 4,000 feet away, folks, not next door, almost a mile away. Okay? So what happened to them? Did it last 2 years before people got upset with them? No. As soon as they came forward to their own township to say, hey, we have a problem, we want to make sure nobody else is having a problem, within 2 weeks, Franklin Citizens for Truth started, and man, they went after them like piranha on meat in a fish tank. It was unbelievable to watch. It sickens me, folks, to watch that. It's not what you do. Who in here kicks people when they're down? If your neighbor's in trouble, you all sit around and have a barbecue and laugh at them while they're over there trying to pick a tree up off their house. That's not what we do as community. That's not how I live. I was raised, you go help people, you don't hurt people. You don't turn on them when they're down. You support them. That's what a community is. And if you don't want to be a part of a community and be part of that helping, move somewhere else where everybody ignores each other. That's what I tell people to do. I'm not going anywhere. Chesapeake said if I don't like the deal we got or what they do with my grandmother, or it was the vice president of the company, he said, if you don't like what's going on, why don't you move? I said, I'd love to move, Marty. You know, I really don't like moving to the country and then having the toxic waste dump move next door to me. But my problem is I got 5 generations of my family buried about 2 miles down the street that I'm afraid might come visit me somewhere else if I abandon the property instead of fight for it. Because obviously, you know how hard people worked 200, 300 years ago here to make a farm happen. It wasn't easy back then with no equipment. And I told him, you know, Marty, I'm not going anywhere. I said, and if you keep up what you're doing, I'm going to make sure to have a party when I watch the taillights of your vehicles leave my ancestral home state, and they're not going to be heading into where my mom's from either. Because I don't like the way you treat people. You're not nice, you lie to people, and you treat them with disrespect. That's what I've noticed over the last few years. Vera, one of the bravest people I've ever met. She's the nicest person. She will talk to anybody. She will interface with anybody, even people that are actively trying to harm her. After the blowout happened, Vera filmed it. And she filmed people working that were trying to clean it up. It happened 10 feet from the side of our township road that our tax dollars paid for. They tried to throw her off and me off the road. We said, sorry, I got my tax bill right here. I paid for this road. So you're not telling me to go anywhere. Vera filmed. She puts it on YouTube so that people can see it, what's happening, which I agree with. It's like the news. You got to see it to believe it. And then what happened? 2 mornings later, I'm at my house in the shower, and I hear boom, boom, boom on the door, pounding. I can feel it in the shower. And I say, what's going on? 5 minutes of that, I decide something must be on fire. I wrap a towel around myself, run out the door. My kids are in watching TV, and they don't answer the door. I open the door up, and there's a woman and a man that looks like Sasquatch standing next to her. And she looks at me and she goes, does the lady that drives the red Prius with the gray hair live here? We saw her car here yesterday. Where does she live? What? Where does she live? Why would I tell you? We need her name and her phone number and her address. I said, wait a minute here. I'm guessing this is not your job description, folks. And then she went like this, and the man grabbed her. And I said, and you don't hunt my neighbors down. And she's a friend of mine. I said, you know what? How fast can you make it to your trucks that are over there? Because you're standing on my property right now. And instead of just doing that, and they ran for the hills, I called up Silver Lake Township Police and reported it. Hey, somebody's hunting down our neighbor and our friend. And then I called who? The district attorney of Susquehanna County. And guess who he called after that? The owner, the CEO of Laser that was installing the pipeline. And he said this to him, and I got this from the DA. Hey, Tom Karam, leave my citizens of Susquehanna County alone. Nobody that works for you will hunt my citizens down. And if one hair is harmed on that woman's head, on Vera Scroggins or Craig Stevens' head, or any of the people in my county from being hunted down, I'm coming after you, Tom Karam. I'm not coming after them. Oh, guess what? I had an emergency meeting and told everybody, leave the citizens alone. What are we talking about here, guys? You know what's funny? You ever put a camera out in public and people hide and run? If you ever pull a camera out, these are roughnecks. These guys would probably cut their leg off, super glue it back together, finish the day, and maybe go to the emergency room. They run and jump in their trucks, hide their face, put the visors down. Hey, what Megan's list are you on, guys? Where are you wanted somewhere where you can't be seen? Is that really who you guys want working here? Because they're telling you about the local jobs. Snap out of the coma, folks. Local jobs, ha ha ha. Local job if you have a quarry. Local job if you have a restaurant. Local job if you have a hotel or bar. Boy, they love the bars. The barkeepers make some good money. If you rent some equipment in the industry, you make some money. Local jobs, well, the mud truck that left behind my house, cleaning up the mess on July 29th, drove about 2 miles up one road, drove about 3 miles down Lower Lake Road, then it made a turn on 29, and not the first one, but the second one flipped over and crushed my neighbor John Jones to death in his Subaru Legacy. Flattened him like a pancake, mixed him right in with the side of the car. Sadly, his 17-year-old daughter was sitting on the passenger side, was able to open her door and get out and watch her dad die over the next 5 minutes. You know, that guy not only wasn't local, he was from Mesa, Arizona. We found out he didn't have a commercial driver's license driving a 40-ton mud truck. And we also found out through the grapevine that 3 of the brakes out of 4 on the truck were failed. Couldn't even stop the truck. So, let me tell you something. After 3.5 years of investigating this industry in my own neighborhood, I've come to the conclusion that, hey, we want to tap out. You know what that means? We'll tap out, and if you guys want it here, let them come up. We'll take a break for a little bit, and then we'll watch the fun. Because my feeling is you won't put up with what we've put up with for 5 or 6 years in Pennsylvania for 5 minutes. And I don't care how pro-drilling you are right now in this audience, when you watch what these guys do, you know, when Vera and I are driving our kids around our own community, and we come around a blind curve, and a 40-ton truck has one wheel on one side of the yellow line and one on the other, and there is no pull-off on our roads, it's a ditch. You're putting your car into a ditch if you go too far off the side of the road. That's pretty exciting. And you know they do the same thing when the school buses are driving, and then they speed. I'm on a hollow. They come from a high point, a blind curve, drop down to where I am, doing about 50 and a 35, and then they go up. And then when the cop sits in my driveway, who's my neighbor, all of a sudden the Jake brake comes on that never came on for the last 2 weeks. And then they go like this. See the guy like this? And he tells everybody behind him, cop in the driveway, slow down. Then they're all doing the Jake brake, Jake brake, Jake brake. As soon as he leaves, right back to the 50 and the 35. And guess what turns around in my front yard? School bus. It stops, gets sideways, and turns around. I called up PennDOT and said, I don't think this is too safe. Ranger's not going to like this, Yogi. If that thing's sideways, when 2 trucks come down, they have nowhere to go, and they have no way to stop. They're going to turn that, they're going to make what happened to John Jones look like a massacre, and there'll be children involved in that. I couldn't watch that. We try to be preemptive. Vera and I are not interested in waiting for the next shoe to drop. Not interested. So we go around, and they find us very threatening. So threatening that they put Vera's picture and my picture and another friend of ours and another friend. 4 of us were shown at one of their safety meetings. And for some reason, they believe I'm dangerous and carry 3 guns. I am a gun enthusiast, and we're in New York, so I can't do anything here. But I don't carry 3 guns, and I'm not dangerous. I'm very easy to get along with. Vera is a maniac with a camera who will trespass and film people and put it on the internet. Our other friend was a known anti-pipeline activist and anti-compressor station, and our other friend was a Occupy Wall Street. They call it Well Street now. Like that, I like it. Occupy Well Street. Here's the problem. I've never been on a well. I don't go visit well pads. I don't do what Vera does and film things, even when she films from a public road. But I find out all my pictures up like America's Most Wanted. How's that fit and go? I got strangers. Remember, guys, they're talking when they say y'all a lot. They're probably not from Owego. How y'all doing today? I'm guessing y'all aren't from Owego or y'all aren't from Silver Lake Township, right? So when you invite somebody to come on your property that has the expertise to take a mineral out and pay you for it, they're called a guest, right? Guest or business partner, or a guest business partner. That's what I call them. And then when you have family over or friends as guests to your house, and you're sitting around the breakfast table and they start talking about what color you should paint your house and how they want to rearrange your furniture in your living room, guess what you do in the afternoon? You pack their bags for them and put them out on the porch and say, I hope you had a nice visit and don't bother coming back. Thanks for playing. You don't let guests tell you how to run your community, how to run your property, and what you can or can't do on your property. When they're installing the pipeline, that's right. I don't care who you are, pro or anti, they don't tell me what to do on my property. Although when they were installing the 16-inch pipeline across my property, a half mile, they tried to throw me off my own property outside of the scope of what I've given them for right-of-way, because I have 5 family members that own my property, not just me. And so we didn't know any better, so we let them put the pipeline across. It was a nightmare. Even Tom Kemp called it the nightmare of the 33-mile line, right? Their installation problems, not mine. My property didn't do anything. The trees, fell down, and they cut them, and they dug up the stuff. But it's interesting. 5 times they came up, including in the presence of federal investigators, tried to throw them off first, and when they said, I'm with the owner, they said, I don't care who you're with. I walked up, is there a problem here? Yeah, you're on the property, and we bought you right away, and I go, yeah, that'd be about 200 yards north of here. I'm not kidding you guys, and if you're pro-drilling, here's the answer. Yes, sir, I'll get off my own property right now. And then they go, good, thanks for playing. But when you're like me, I look at them and say, hey, you're on my property now, and I'm feeling threatened. So why don't you slam your foot on that accelerator and get off of my property all the way before I get upset and have to do something to defend myself and using deadly force if necessary. That would pass the legal test for what we need to say in Pennsylvania. Bye-bye. Then I don't stop there. I always call the boss, supervisor. He comes down and tries to explain away the situation. He wasn't there. How can he explain away the situation? Trying to get the point across with you that you're the landowner, you want to make money, they're going to be your business partner. And so far, they're the worst business partners I've ever dealt with. Let me tell you, I'm a laser. First, they offered us $5 a foot and a lifetime easement for 33 miles from New York and Pennsylvania. No thanks. Not only the $5 a foot, but how about the lifetime easement? Well, all your neighbors have signed. Except for the night before, I called all my neighbors about 5 miles to the east and west. 5 miles to the west had not signed a document with these people. So, you're lying to me, and I don't do business with liars. And they said, don't worry. We're getting certificate of public convenience from the state, and they want us here. So, whether you sign or not, doesn't matter, the pipeline's going in. I said, let me recap our conversation here. This was 4 big guys that said y'all. I'm standing in their office in Montrose. I said, first you offer me $5 a foot and a lifetime easement, forget that. That's off the table, not going to ever happen. Then you tell me my neighbors have signed, and you try to use peer pressure on me, and I tell you I've already talked to them, and here's their names and phone numbers, give them a call. I think you're lying, not them, because I've known them. And then they threatened to take my land by eminent domain. And then I said, hey, I don't know about Louisiana, but in Pennsylvania, those fighting words, boys. So don't come up on my property without an agreement with my family, or there's going to be some loud bangs and you're going to be running, because I don't tolerate that. You don't come there. This is big guys telling you they're going to take your property. And they don't just do it to guys like me who can probably defend myself. They do it to people like Vera and people like you and 85, 95-year-old women in nursing homes. That's ridiculous. If this is such a great deal for all of us, then why do they have to? I'll tell you what my dad said 3 days before he died on his deathbed. He knew all about this. We didn't know what he was talking about in 2007. He said, they're offering $50 an acre in Pennsylvania for land. And he said, what do you guys think they were paying at the state right before they came to Pennsylvania per acre? Make a guess, guys. You know how much they pay right now in Pennsylvania? $6,000 to $8,000 an acre for a signing bonus. But they're not signing because they don't have any money. Why don't they have any money? Seen the price of natural gas today? It's under $3 a thousand. You know when they started drilling 5 years ago, it was about $16 to $18 a thousand. So people getting these big checks, they're all excited, man. Awesome. And who do you think drove the price down to under $3? Did I do it, the landowner? No. Did the state do it? No. I think they did something called overproduce. They flooded the market. So now they want to take it out. But why would they drill today? Well, because they signed that guy 4 years and 6 months ago, and his lease is up at 5 years. So we better jackhammer 4 holes in the ground. He asked Shelley to cube his truth land. You know what happened to them? They got $75 an acre from Alta, and they were pissed. They told everybody, I can't believe we got ripped off, because within 6 months they were paying the neighbors $1,000 an acre. Boy, were they mad, right? So ask her what they did to their property. Well, they put 4 vertical wells in January of 2011. And then they left. Capped them. There was no production. To hold the lease. Got it? Hold the lease. Because once they put a hole in the ground, guess how long the lease goes for them? Until you're dead, your kids are dead, until they abandon it. That's how long they have the lease. But if they let it go past one day, past the 5 years or 10 years, you get to go renegotiate or say no. So they jackhammered 4 holes in the ground, came back 10 or 11 months later, and then did the horizontals on their property. Okay, wait a minute. You promised me you were going to come here and drill a hole in the ground and get me some money. How does that work when you drill a hole in the ground? I get all excited. Hey, they're doing some work, and then you take off for 10 months and don't do anything. Now, I'm sure Shelley and Phil are happy. I'm sure they're getting tens of thousands of dollars a month. But I have a question for you. Hey, Shelley, they're paying you, let's say I'm using a hypothetical number. Let's say they're paying you $30,000 a month and you're excited about it. How do you know they don't owe you 50? Got it, guys? How do you know they don't owe you 50? Who in here would go into business partnership with somebody and write a contract and they owe you this much exact percentage on what comes out of your own minerals? By the way, you know what the average is in Pennsylvania? 15%. You keep 15% of your minerals under your property. We have the same minimum royalty percentage in New York as Pennsylvania. It's 12.5%. You ever heard the phrase 10 cents on the dollar? Everyone knows when you're getting 10 cents on the dollar, you're getting ripped off, right? That's when the land baron comes through and he buys out the land and he gets 10 cents on the dollar. Well, 12.5 cents is not very much better. We clear on that? Not very much better. So then you ask the question, why are you only giving the landowner 12.5 to 20%? You're keeping 87.5 to 80%. We got to do all that work because you don't know how to go down there and get that gas, okay? But let me ask you something. You get more because you got to do all this work and pay for it. Why does it say in my contract in paragraph 3 that the landowner either shares in or pays for all the production costs? Uh-oh. Would that be an omission or a lie? I don't know. We'll see in court. There's the funny part. You pay for it. The first 90 days to 120 days, they're pulling $1 million out of there, but they're paying for the well before they start paying you. Right? So now you're in a partnership with somebody that you entered into as a landowner coalition, and you got a great deal. You got what I got, 20% deal with Chesapeake, not the 12.5% they signed the grandmother for. I got almost double what they signed the old lady in the nursing home. Right? So that's a good deal. Except for they're keeping 80%. I pay the production cost. Wait a minute, what? So why aren't we at 50-50 if I'm doing the production costs? No. We're not giving 50-50. Because we got to make some money too. And you know how much it costs to make money producing a well? $3.50 minimum per 1,000 at the wellhead. Right now it's about under 3. Why the hell, why are they drilling holes in the ground? They can't make any money. And all the pipelines lead to the coast, and they lead to harbors, but they're not going to export the gas. Don't worry about that. Your money's safe. This gas is staying in America. And they're trying to convince every governor of every state to convert everything that runs in that state on natural gas. I wonder why that would be. Because then, when they do that, now there's a need for massive amounts, and then they don't care what's happening to Vera or Craig or any of you in your neighborhood, and your water supply, and your private property, because we need this energy in America, and everybody is running on it now, so we need it. So, interesting game they're playing, but the problem is, do you think they're going to leave it in the United States? If they can only get $5 or $6 a thousand in the U.S., but Japan has already said they'll pay $16 to $18 a thousand liquefied, it's not staying here, guys. That's a simple economics, and your board of directors goes, we'd love to keep it in America because that would be good for our PR, but good for the wallet would be to let Japan, India, Russia, China, and Norway, those are the 5 big players, folks. Guess who's paying to have these LNG plants either reversed in America or built? Number 1, China. Number 2, Japan, because they got a problem with their nuclear reactors over there, so they need energy, right? Number 3, I think, is either Russia or India, and then Norway is a close 5th. So, it feels like we're at the Olympics, man. We got all these countries represented around here, but it's America's fuel. Let's keep it here. If they're going to do this and destroy us doing it, I really don't want to get Russia some cheap gas, because that would not sit very well for the bringing the soldiers home live, they say. Why do I say that? What if a soldier comes home from fighting for the last 4 years in the Middle East? By the way, they own all the oil, and guess what? They're going to own all this too. They're the only ones on this planet that have enough money once this is all this infrastructure set up to go. Sold, just like playing Monopoly. I'll take Boardwalk, Park Place, and the whole rest of the board. Thank you very much. Here's $1 trillion cash. We own it now. If you don't think that's going to happen, I'll put some money on that one too. Because I'm not the smartest, I'm not the sharpest tack in the bag, but I tell you what, why wouldn't they? They own all the other energy. So I'm not trying to scare you, I'm not trying to tell you what to think. I'm going to close down here so we can have question and answer. Because Vera and I have spent enough time telling you about our experiences. We want to get questions, definitely. And I'll leave it with this. I'm going to leave it with a couple quotes that are real quick. Martin Luther King, whether you like him or not, this was interesting. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. You'll find out who your friends are, guys, when this goes bad. And it's sad that you won't have too many. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. That's Sir Edmund Burke. That's one of my favorite quotes of all time. And then we're going to quote Einstein, because, you know, he was a fairly smart guy. He had a very famous saying, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Please, guys, you have a beautiful state here. I mean, gorgeous. Vera and I just take trips up above the border just to see what we used to look like where we live. We really do. And then we drive back down, and there's a compressor station there, and there's a drill rig there, and there's a flaring going on that we can see for miles away. And we go, you know what? You have held them off for 4 years. No other state in the country has ever done that. Vermont just banned it. This has been held off for 4 years. And the amount of money they've lost is into the hundred billions of dollars. It's a lot of money that they've lost. And I'll leave it with this. If you think Pennsylvania looks bad, when they greenlight the southern tier or the whole state, it's going to look like the Normandy invasion when they come in here. You're going to see thousands of trucks coming through Binghamton and Vestal, right up through Owego, because this is the pathway right in here, and you're not going to recognize your community. Montrose, where Vera and I live near, is the dirtiest place you've ever been. There is dust and dirt stuck to everything. Your car is dirty for 2 minutes after you enter the town of Montrose, because every truck in the vicinity comes through there. I appreciate you having us here. We'd be more than happy to answer questions. And also, afterwards, boards all stay, and we will answer them directly or give you our contact information. Jared and I will, because we love to talk to people, and we're not opposed to anybody. If you're a landowner here, you're not the enemy. You actually are our friend. You just need to know what's coming so you can make a decision that is right for you and your family. Because please don't do what we've done in Pennsylvania and commit what I call generational suicide. Thank you very much for your attention.
I'd like to thank Vera and Craig. And this is not conjecture, is this? This is real life experiences that these guys have experienced. This is not something they're making up. This is not something that they think is going to happen. It is something that is happening, and they're warning us. So before we go to the questions, I'd like to let you know a few more things. While this was happening, I had ordered a bunch of CDs or DVDs for people who would like to know more about this situation, and so they will be available at the tables. And if you are interested in calling your governor, your senator, or your local representatives, we also have sheets at the table out there by the petitions so that you can let them know what you think. Remember, 69% don't want this so far. And we're out into the rural area. And, you know, give it one thought. You know, just because I live in Owego Village maybe, or I live in Apple Lake and Tagga Terrace maybe, I'm still going to experience all these trucks and all of this external costs. So maybe a landowner will make some money, but I'm going to experience all of the junk that goes along with it. So I don't want to hold anything up anymore. Oh, and then we have another DVD that showed up too. There are alternatives to this, believe it or not. And so there's a DVD out there for sale called Empowered. And we also have some flyers out there called Empowered. It's a magnificent DVD. It just came in, and that will be out at the tables also. So I'm going to ask you all, we have some rules. We are going to let people speak at the microphone, but we ask two things. 2-minute limit, and I know I'm one of the town boards that always goes more than 2 minutes, but we are going to have this is a public meeting, you know, or like, so this isn't like at a town board meeting, but anyway, 2 minutes so that other people can speak, and then Jerry will hold up the 2-minute sign if you're over 2 minutes, and we will gently ask you to give up the microphone, and it must be a question. The presenters are here to talk. You are here to ask questions. If you would like to give a presentation and speak of your experiences, give us a call and maybe we'll set something up. But right now we're just here to answer questions. The microphone is there. Let me turn it around so that you can come to the microphone and you can ask your question.
We have to finish at 9, so if anybody would like to ask something, feel free to come forward if you want. Looks like no questions. We have somebody here. See if you can put the mic right, or take it off because you're a tall person. Okay. Yeah.
I own property off of Glen Mary Drive, and they just repaved that. I wonder if the trucks would, how much weight restrictions are put on these trucks? What roads can they travel?
Well, in our state, they can travel any road, even though, like, I'm on a main road, it says 10-ton limit. They're allowed to drive up and down that road. All you have to do is pay a bond, and they're allowed to use every road in the county that they can get through. And they will also adjust the roads. They will resurface, like the dirt roads. They'll widen them. If they're going to go put a site on a road, let's say it's a side road, they will widen them, they will relayer them, make them stronger to be able to handle this kind of traffic. So they will prepare the roads for what they need. So they'll, if, you know, are you a dirt road or are you a paved road?
It's a paved road.
It's a paved road. Is it a highly traffic road or is it like a little side road?
No, it's a little side road.
A little side road. Well, if there's a well there, they'll get there.
Well, Glen Mary Road is more of a regular town road, but this is a smaller road.
Yeah.
Check Vera's videos out. She videotaped my road, Silver Creek Road, which is between 167 and 29. It took 2 weeks of heavy traffic, and I'm not kidding you, chunks the size of me were laying in the road, where if you came at night, you didn't see that. It would just tear the bottom end right out of your car. It took them months to fix it. The little bridge next to my house was built in 1957. They wiped that out in 2 weeks. They were pounding it right down into the ground. That took 7 months to rebuild it and turn it down to 1 lane. So there is a lot of damage. They're bonded. They come and fix it. But we have 2-lane roads, guys. So you go down to 1 lane. So you're out in the middle of nowhere, and you got to drive. You got to have a stop sign or somebody holding up signs. So it's ridiculous.
All right. Anything else, or thank you? Would you like to say something else?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm John Alashowskis. I'm from Norwich, New York. I'm a landowner and a farmer. And I talk on Truth Radio, and I have a pile of information for you. Just an example, we spent $650 million last year in Afghanistan on propaganda. There's a tremendous amount of propaganda going on. If you go to byronwine.com,
That's okay.
it will show you all the free energies that we're not allowed to use. The Polk carburetor, for example, is 2,026,798. It's 205 miles a gallon, was on the Sherman tank. I've given it to many, many people, congressmen, senators, everybody. You never see it. There's many more. First, perpetual gravity motors embedded in 1710. The U.S. Law 35, Code 1952, Section 181 to 188, is a law to prevent us from having free, clean energy. As my dad died in 08, I had to do an estimate of appraisal for a state.
That's okay. You can speak for. Remember, you have like a 2-minute limit, but and then if you have a question.
Okay. And as that, I had to do an appraisal for a state for income taxes. But when they allowed the foreign oil companies to come through our town and take seismic testing, which in other states they have to pay for and ask permission to do, they did not give us a picture. They were allowed to do it unless we stood against them, which we did, and never gave us any tax base for appraised assessment, which is just criminal action by our own government, happening by our own government. And also, just to close up quickly, U.S. Title 50, Article 38, Section 1520. That is the law to use chemtrails and HAARP to change the weather and to poison us. It's happening in front of our face.
Thank you. So no questions, thank you. And, okay, you can answer something in the seismic.
Seismic. My brother gets a check from Cougar Land Services for $190. Calls them up. Who are you? Why did you send me a check for $190? That's your portion of the $5 an acre we're paying for the seismic survey we're doing on your property. Under whose authority were you on our property? Wayne Stevens, that's my uncle. He owned 1/3. Well, Wayne is one of 5 owners. They said, well, Pennsylvania's a 1% state, so we only have to get the permission of 1 owner to trespass on your property. What is seismic survey? It's an x-ray of what's under the ground. It determines whether they're going to come and drill for gas on your property anyway. So they're taking an x-ray of your property without your permission or knowledge and determining whether they're going to come there or not. Good luck with this, folks. And they put, Vera remembers it, wires everywhere. They drop these 500-pound bags out of helicopters down into your property. They drop them right 5 feet from a lady's house on her porch. But I mean, it's nuts. But they tell me, so I said put it in writing, they still have never done it.
Yeah, that's one of the other things that happens too, is it feels like a military invasion. We will have helicopters up in the air, so you start hearing helicopters, one after another. And it's disconcerting, it's disturbing. I mean, they come and then they drop bags of equipment so they can do their seismic. So it feels like a military thing, so it's not an enjoyable thing. And then when they did the seismic at the house I was living at near Dimmock at that time, I felt this wave go through the roof of the house. It felt like a wave of movement, like almost like something was coming through the house, which I've never felt before. That was a whole new experience, and that's when they were doing the seismic. So what does that do to the house? What does that do to the walls? Are they prepared to pay for anything? Not that I know of. So it's all new experiences that are not fun. Anyone else? Or?
Yes, I've been especially interested in the health, safety, and welfare of the gas drillers themselves, the roughnecks. And I mean, I've read hundreds of articles about the whole gas drilling phenomenon, and I don't really find that much information very frequently, just every so often. I learned that according to the CDC, the fatality and injury rate has taken a big jump over the last 5 years. New York Times did an article in mid-May that the truck drivers for the gas drilling industry are exempt from OSHA laws. Consequently, their accident rates, much higher. And then in the process of looking up some other material, came across this article from High Country News called "The Disposable Workers of the Gas and Oil Industry." And they kind of based it, this guy was doing some investigative journalism in Wyoming. And this guy went into the particulars of just how they're disposable. One particular anecdote that for $1,000 they could have had a railing that would have helped protect a worker. The worker fell off, was killed. The company was fined $3,000, and so it's just not worth the incentive to protect their workers. What's been your experience in talking to these people? What happens to them when they do get injured? And then this doesn't even deal with all the long-term impact of having so much direct exposure to the toxins that affect so many other people.
Well, when you talk to them, first of all, if you want to keep your job, you're not going to say anything negative. So these people most of them are transients, they're coming from out of state. We only have about 10% of the workforce that is local. And they're coming from all over. So they're not going to say anything unless they leave the job, then they'll say something. So I've talked to some on the side who happen to be local people who I know, and I said, well, what is it like working for them? And they have long hours, 14-hour shifts, and they're driving truck water tankers. And this one couple, young couple, they were getting about, $18 to $22 an hour, 14-hour shifts, 6 days a week. And this is one of the things they love to tout. They said, oh, we got jobs for you. The jobs are long hours, usually 6 days a week, and it's very hard for most people to acclimate to that. They usually don't want it. And then some of the things the gas companies like to say is like, it's hard for us to find workers out here. You people don't seem to want to work. I said, well, they're used to like normal hours. They want to have a life. They just don't want to work all day long. And then some of these shifts are all night. So they have to drink coffee, they have to have those special caffeine drinks. And what is that safety record like? So I don't know, nothing is revealed to us. All I know is when I call the police department, they say crime is on the rise, and there's a significant increase since they've come in. And I was just at my township meeting, and they said burglaries are on the rise, as well as drugs, a lot of drug use. So, and I went to one site, they're building a compressor station, and I said, well, how many people are local people working here? How many people you got, first of all? So they said, oh, 50 on this site that they're building right now. And I said, well, how many are from our county, our state? They go, 1. And I said, but what part of where are they from? Are they from our county? No, they're not even from our county. They're from Pennsylvania, but all the way near the Ohio border. I said, well, that's nice. You got somebody like 5 hours away working for you, this young woman. And I said, what's your hours like? 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. And I said, how do you feel working like that? Do you have a family? Do you have anything else in life? She goes, yeah, but we make good money. Well, I guess you do if you work 60 hours a week. That's going to be above average as far as what you're making. And I said, nobody from the local. So that's out of 50 workers for the latest compressor station that's being built.
I'll cover the fun side. How about the 23-year-old young man that fell into the rock crusher? Literally, the coroner had to mop up the pieces of them. There was no body to bury. They bagged that. How about the guys that go in with injuries, and when they go in, they get treated, and then their supervisor shows up and pays cash? Why would you go in and pay cash? Well, because there's no record of it. You don't have to report to OSHA. We don't know how many injuries these guys are getting. I feel sorry for them. The workers are here for work. That's not my problem. My problem is the industry doesn't seem to be able to poke holes in the ground without damaging people's land or water. And then they put the burden on you and me. You, the landowner, have to prove they messed it up. Wait a minute, you're drilling the holes. You're the expert. We do this for 70 plus years, right? Why don't you prove you didn't do it while we all watch you shut everything down and we'll wait? I'm sure you'll come up with a good answer real fast if you're not drawing things out. So the workers are being mistreated. I can see it. They're under threat. If you talk, they can't speak to Vera and I. They can't even look at us or else they get in trouble. So they're under threat. They can't speak. Who does that? Who do you work for? You can't go tell how bad of a day it was and what's going on outside of that without them coming back and going, hey, you talked to your neighbor about not having fun here, so you're out. I mean, that's ridiculous. So, any other questions?
I also wanted to say too that when I go to when they're doing fracking, that's when they use sand, silica sand. And when you look at the fracking, when it goes on, there's clouds of silica sand while they're doing it. And the workers are in the midst of that cloud of sand. It's very, very fine. What is that doing to their lungs? Are we going to find out 20 years later, like they usually like to do in our country? Oh, 20 years down the road, oh yeah, it affected their lungs and now they have some kind of silicosis, God knows what they're going to call it. And when I look at the workers, nobody is wearing a mask. There's no masks on these people, and they're in the middle of these clouds of dust, of silica dust. What will that do to their health?
Real quick, the flaring is unbelievable. Come and see a flaring. One flaring is incredible. We went to 5. These guys are standing down below it, flames shooting 100 feet in the air, louder than the 747 takeoff. The heat was unbearable when we were 100 yards away. And one of them went out, so the guy's lighting road flares and throwing it up through the flame to get the light. They're standing down below this. They're in heat suits, but can you imagine that? And the flare goes on for sometimes 2+ weeks, constantly. And there are homes around that flare within 100 to 150 yards surrounding it, 360 degrees. People living there with jet engine noise 24 hours a day, the heat, the chemicals, the smell. I didn't last 5 minutes before I got a headache, and within 20 minutes my guts were aching. I had to get out of there. And I'm a pretty sturdy person, but I was shocked, and there's poor people living right there. But this gentleman had another question.
So related to what you were talking about now, what if you could say something about the delivery of medical services? Have you had any contact with hospitals or EMTs or doctors? And what do they think about the whole situation?
Well, we found out some problems. Like over in Bradford County, there's a gentleman that passed away. Actually, he took his own life. Carl Stiles, if you look it up. He was going to his family physician because he was feeling really bad. I mean, he couldn't even get up out of bed. He was so lethargic. And he wanted to be tested because he heard potentially that heavy metals could cause that. So he went to his own family physician that he'd been going to for 2 or 3 generations. And he refused to test him. He said, you don't have barium or radium in your blood. That's never been shown here. I'm not even going to waste your time with the insurance or anybody to test that. Convinced him not to get tested. Well, he went home, but he still felt bad, so he went to the clinic. You pay them money, they'll test you. They found barium, I think they said 7 times higher than the maximum level allowed. The person that tested didn't even know how the guy was walking, let alone still breathing. Okay? So then he wondered, well, why would the doctors not want to do that? Well, Chesapeake put $1 million into the hospital to put a new wing on, and they bought 15 ambulances between the local fire departments and the hospital. They bought our bookmobile for our Susquehanna County Library. They donated a phone truck that we demanded they have to put out fires because they didn't even have one when we had explosions. I think it's called buying influence. They won't give the landowners any money when they damage them, but they'll throw $1,000 bills around like Monopoly money to make sure that you like them. And then they donate to all the local shelters, hospitals, animal welfare groups. I love that. I'm not arguing that. Hey, donate all you want. But if that's buying influence, so the neighbors decide to let you get away with poisoning their grandchildren, I'm not in. I hope you're not in either.
Barium is a naturally occurring metal, and is it radioactive? It's in the earth, and then with all of the activity, with the drilling and fracking, it's bringing up large amounts of it in through the fissures and cracks, and then it ends up in the water, in the aquifer. So it's coming in that way. But yeah.
Would you give us a brief explanation of DMIC and the EPA results? A lot of folks here keep telling us that everything's fine in DMIC. The EPA tells you that you can drink the water and there's nothing wrong. And I know that there are some different results. Thank you.
Well, the EPA finally came in after we felt that the DEP was not able to finally resolve the issue. And Cabot had done some testing in last year, and it came up, some chemicals came up. Industrial chemicals, and they were like ethylene, glycols, and some other chemicals. So then a group of us were sending those results to the EPA and said, please come out and do testing, because we feel at this point the DEP has gone as far as they're willing to go. So the EPA finally came in and did a bunch of testing, and they're saying, with the results that they finally came up with, that everything that they have an MCL for, which is maximum allowable, what's the maximum? Contaminant level, maximum contaminant levels, MCL. Whatever they have a level for, most of it is within that level. So when they say it's safe to drink, they have their own definition. The definition is, if it's all within the MCLs, even though they find stuff, they might find manganese, barium, chlorides, you have some kind of test result. If you find it within the MCLs, consider it safe. Now, for the chemicals, industrial chemicals, they have no MCLs. They have just what they call trigger. It triggers means they find something. It's a trigger point. They find something there, but they have no maximum level. So then they say that because there is no maximum on the industrial chemicals, it's considered safe in their definition. And then when I was there in the home of one of the individuals with the EPA and they showed them the results, so the homeowner said, well then if it's safe for my family, and you're telling me my children can drink this water now, then can I pour you a glass? Will you drink it? And they said, no, we won't drink it. So he said, if you're not willing to drink it, why are you telling me I can drink it and my family can drink it? So this is a definition, and I question the definition. We need a new definition. My definition is I don't want any chemicals in my water. I don't care what level it is. You think this is an allowable level, and I'm supposed to be drinking it? It was not there before. I don't want to drink it. So don't tell me it's safe.
In my briefcase, and I'll show anybody, this is test results from somebody that's not fallen for the banana in the tailpipe. That's from Eddie Murphy's movie, Beverly Hills Cop. And when I saw what was happening, and the state allowed them to remove the water from the families and left them basically high and dry, you had a choice, go back on your well water. They were pulling water out of the ponds and creeks and putting in these water buffaloes, which, by the way, not for human consumption, but they were using them to shower and bathe and launder. I couldn't watch it anymore. So the DEP wasn't going to help them, Cabot wasn't going to help them. I bought a truck, I hired a driver, I found a safe water source. Interesting. As soon as we put that truck on the road, they pulled it over. As soon as they found out what the water was going to, I had that water hydrant installed by Pennsylvania American Water, which is the local water supplier for Montrose. As soon as they found out, they put an injunction against the property owner and cited them $500 a day fines if they don't tear it out. This is what happened. Like,
why?
Why? Because it embarrasses the industry that we can provide the water. They were paying $33,000 a month to deliver water to 11 families. That's how much Cabot was paying Guy Parrish, the delivery person. I've done it through donations. I'll have a bucket out front. Donated money, $500 a week, we can supply the water to the same amount of people that they were spending thousands of dollars a week. It's ridiculous, the money that's involved. It's not the cost of the water, folks. It's how to transport it. That's the expensive part. But you're talking about contamination. I'm going to show you that paperwork if everyone wants to see it. Barium, radium, strontium, uranium, 3 different kinds. Okay? Anything that ends in -ium, you don't want even a microscopic trace in your water. That's called normally naturally occurring radioactive material. That's radioactive stuff. Radon comes out. I mean, come on. And she's right. Vera says that, well, we don't have a standard for methane. It could be 80% methane, so much that you could asphyxiate. But the EPA says we don't have a minimum or maximum safe level for around humans. Nice try.
They also don't have any long-term studies, health studies for methane, being exposed to methane. So if we don't have the long-term studies, why don't we? You can speak.
Well, you brought it.
We have to go, so this will be the last one, but thank you so much.
You brought up the methane. I was reading that as far as the methane levels, the leakage from either drilling or the pipelines, Cornell first did a study in Owego. They used computer models, and they came up with a 2-point-some% leakage, which is higher than the industry states. The industry states it's 1-point-something. Then they did a field study in Colorado. NOAA did. NOAA did a field study. And the leakage there is 4%. It's higher than coal leakage. So when people talk about it being a bridge fuel, it's not a bridge fuel until we get to renewables. All they're doing is sinking a lot of money into it. They'll never give it up after they do that. So.
And the studies say that methane is 21 times more powerful of a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. Okay, wait a minute. So to hold heat in. So this is leaking out. This is stuff they know it leaks. There's billions of cubic feet of gas leaking out. That's nobody's getting paid for that. It's going and ruining the air quality and the environment, and it's ridiculous to see.
Okay, one more.
Can I just make a really quick announcement about the DVD that people can get, I think, for free, right?
Yeah, we'd like it.
Donation.
Like a donation. Okay, for a small donation, I just want to encourage, I'm just going to say quickly, there's some really important information on there for New York citizens. There's some really great stuff. The Sky is Pink, if you've heard about that, it's largely about public relations, but it also has some other issues that it talks about. Unearthed, this 20-minute documentary from a South African filmmaker who came here, and it's largely about the people in this area. And so, anyway, highly recommend you get this DVD, highly relevant for people in New York State, and it's got a lot of information that you probably haven't seen before.
Thank you, Bill. So thank you everyone for coming and listening and being patient with all this, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Vera, we thoroughly appreciate you sharing all your information, and I know that it's not always easy for you to walk the system. And we appreciate you bringing the information to New York State. Thanks again. Have a good evening, everyone. Have a safe trip home. And please stop by the tables to pick up some information and the DVDs and to sign the petitions. Thank you.